Hi everyone, my name is Audra Curnutte. I will be presenting my senior thesis to you. The topic of my senior thesis is bringing agricultural education back to America again. I am the daughter, granddaughter, great-great-granddaughter of ranchers. I still live on the ranch that I grew up on. My son has had the opportunity and is living on the ranch that I grew up on as well with my husband and I. I am a member of the 4-H, or have always been. I work to help our parent volunteer association within our 4-H chapters. My father is a former member of the FFA, was state vice president in his time, and is still serving as a state board of director on the Texas FFA board as we speak today. So I have a very diverse connection with agriculture and the importance of agriculture education. The question now would be, why is this even a topic, Audra? Why are we even going over this? Well, the problem that I am seeing today, and I'm sure many of you have also seen, is the decline in agriculture industry as careers in our school systems. Personally, I have seen a lot of the ag ed programs being cut. Our hometown right here in Carrizo Springs almost had that happen. They came very, very close to that, and the reason they didn't was because they had a change in administration, and the new superintendent did understand the importance of agricultural education, which brings my point back to why it's so important that people understand agriculture education and have just a basic foundation of why it's important, how to live off the land, and be self-sufficient in that manner as well. So the concentrations that I chose, or the disciplines rather, that I chose to research the question of how can we bring back agricultural education to our public education systems again, with the same importance and support, and support that they need to sustain and to thrive, are human resource development, education, and community development. As somebody who, I worked as a human resource associate for 4 years. It is part of my degree plan as one of my concentrations, and my hope is to obtain a human resource management position upon graduating. So I wanted to incorporate that because I am aware of the huge amount of potential, information, theories, and insights that human resource development can provide in showing us how we can motivate people to, work towards a common goal. Human resource development, we constantly have to find different ways to develop trainings, to teach people new concepts, new skills, how to be more efficient. The list goes on, but there are so many different avenues that human resource development can provide us in showing how we can influence human capital from an organizational standpoint, and this knowledge can be transferred over into our community as well. Education, I believe, was very relevant to this, as there's no better way to really get down to the root of a problem than to start with the people who have a firsthand experience in the problem. Being able to obtain information from agricultural education teachers in general, and learn about what are the problems, what do you see, how can we help, how can we bring this back. With the sources that I found in education, I was able to find different theories that can be used in not only being relatable to children, K through 12, but also adults, and how we can motivate them and influence them to work towards learning more about agriculture education. Community development was my third discipline for this research project, as I believe that the first place that we would have to start in moving towards bringing this education, agricultural education back to our public school systems is to start with our community first. Where there is one, there is more. And if you can influence one, and one can influence another, and the list can go on. So with community development, this discipline would be relevant in aiding us in finding the information on how we can create programs better. There's sources that I have found where people used what was right there in their community: vacant homes for community gardens, mental outpatient clinics, mental clinics, their patients being, incorporated into the workings of their community garden, learning more about it. One source that I found for community development discussed how they use mental patients as part of this nutritional education program by using a community garden. With this opportunity that they had, it not only helped mental patients through their stay, but it also allowed them to have a firsthand experience on nutrition education. Some of these patients had eating disorders and, really didn't understand the ins and outs of nutrition. So they used the opportunity to get the community involved by having a community garden that incorporated these patients, which in turn incorporated people that would come in and say, hey, can we bring our biology class to, discuss these with the mental, the plants and how this works with the mental patients, nutrition. It was a learning opportunity for not only the mental patients there, but for other members of the community to understand more on how can we do this, why is this so important, and why should we continue to be influenced and learn more. So those are the 3 disciplines that I chose for this research project. With that being said, I found multiple sources that really helped bring this together. One of the sources mentioned again in community development was the mental patient, being brought into community gardens. In education discipline, I was able to find sources that was from a Louisiana ag teacher that showed how can we, work more, or shall I say, create a better environment for special needs. How can we make sure that they're also getting the quality education that every other student is getting without being excluded? Unfortunately, I am also the daughter of a teacher, and when discussing this topic with her, she had seen so many times where it wasn't that they didn't know how or that they didn't want to, that there was just so many things that, they weren't trained properly on how to do these kinds of things, that there were easy solutions that could have been made to help the teacher allow the student to have a better education or a better opportunity at absorbing the information and understanding it. Human resource development, I also found many sources on training, human capital. How can we motivate people to equally want to continue being influenced, to understand the importance of, our topic, this topic being agricultural education. So with that being said, the solutions that, or the conflicts that I did find between these three disciplines is that human resource development primarily focuses on the organization. One organization, one sole function. When we create training programs, we're creating training programs for example, how can we motivate this organization towards being more productive? How can we train our field employees in a timely manner to learn H2S? Numerous. Human resource development trainings typically will focus on a sole organization's needs and a sole function for a concentrated group of people. So with that, education and community development doesn't really focus primarily on just one organization. They're looking at a broader picture, so they have to understand how to be relatable to not just a certain group of people. Human resource typically is obviously an adult audience, but in this case, community development and education focus on learning methods and theories that are relatable to larger, more diverse audiences. K through 12, adults, elderly, any demographic that you can really think of. Community development and education really focus their learning methods and their theories on ensuring that they can provide a quality learning environment for a larger audience, a larger and more diverse audience. So with that conflict in mind, I was still able to obtain the information from my disciplines to synthesize the connections and come up with a possible solution. So the solution that I am proposing is that, instead of focusing more on machines, on technology, on how we can create some new big thing to solve our problem, rather let's just get back down to the basics of learning. This could be creating a community development program that would instill different groups of people, whether you broke it down into trainings, down into demographics, however you wanted to do it. But I think that the first place to start would be something of a sort of a community garden. My personal idea was also brought to me in the disciplines that I found, the sources that I found within my community development discipline of these abandoned buildings and abandoned homes, using those, finding a way to be able to use that property to have community gardens and then have volunteers or ag teachers or 4-H members, FFA members, however, whatever group of people that we'd like to use, or multiple, to be able to provide trainings to the community. Kindergartners coming in and learning what plants are, elderly understanding how they too can be able to grow their own food or understand why it's so important without necessarily having to go out and make a huge garden. As simple and basic as just a few things in your house could help understand that. So when we influence our community in a way that is integrative of these disciplines, we start doing what I call the domino effect. One person's being influenced tells another person, and eventually the more people that are being educated, being incorporated into these informal learning environments, we can influence our public education systems to incorporate agricultural education again, because again, our community will see the importance by these programs that would not necessarily be so formal, not feel like they have to be there, but would be programs that would influence them to motivate them to want to learn more, to have a way of their children and them spending time together. There's multiple ways of creating this program to be desirable, to be able to influence our community to bringing agricultural education back to America again. So with that being said, those are my conclusions. This was a very insightful project for me. Again, like I said, I have a very big heart, very passionate about the agricultural industry. I've seen it too many times where there's children who do not know what a cow is, which is amazing to me and sad, because that just goes to show that our programs are being lost and that they need to be enforced just that much more at any age group that we can, to ensure that we don't lose these roots and that we can be continuing to be a self-sufficient society again without having to rely on technology. So that would be it. Bringing agricultural education back to America again. This is the beginning of solutions to a complex problem that I believe can be solved through integrative research, as I have conducted, and can be executed with a lot of action. I personally actually hope to bring this into my community. As I've mentioned before, I've seen the decline here. I help out with our agriculture programs here, and this is starting to be the beginning of something for me that I think can really work. Just takes a little bit more time and a lot of hard work. Thank you.